But there was a lot of fights announced, and these are huge. So just like we thought, they are going to put Henry Cejudo against Marlon Moraes for the Bantamweight title. That's going to be in Chicago, I believe, at UFC 238. That's another one where all these fights got announced, and they made it all seem like they were a done deal, and now they're saying, we don't know when we're going to do it, or someone hasn't signed, but I believe this one's going to be in Chicago.
Yes. That's that scheduling problem. That's tough, man. You got guys, people have to realize, these guys got to travel. These guys got to make the time. They got to get their camp fit to be able to make it in enough time. They don't want to give a guy a disadvantage. Getting dates is not as easy. All of us can point and say these two guys should fight in a month, and then, okay, life happens. That's not going to happen. So, but yeah, on 6-8 in Chicago, that would be very nice.
Yeah, so I think that's like we said, and that probably makes the most sense for that fight. And it'll be good.
It's a vacant belt.
Yeah,
there's no better starting from the finish line, or starting from the starting line, going to the finish line for both these. They have nothing else but to go for that belt. Marlon absolutely deserves it, and Henry absolutely deserves it. There is nobody in this that I think, and especially what I'm liking about this, you got Henry, who just finished in 32 seconds, TJ Dillashaw, who was the Bantamweight champion. You also have Marlon Moraes, that has not let any one of his last 4 opponents out of the first round, and knocked them all out or finished them in flashy ways.
The John Dodson went decision last.
He did go decision. I'm sorry.
Nothing more than like the last fight was against Sun Sao.
Yes,
that was a 3-minute fight. That was the longest fight I fought.
Before Jimmy, you had that with the head kick right out the gate, and then Aljamain Sterling, who went flatline from a knee.
Yep.
And the cool part is he might fight Aljamain Sterling here in less than 6 months.
Yeah, Aljamain's chasing him
He's
right back.
right behind his back. So that's the cool thing is with this bantamweight, like we've talked about. I'm not going to get into it again, but it's so cool to see these guys get right back into it. TJ's out. We're all in. Let's go. Let's get that belt.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a good one. That adds to, I think that was 238 was the card with several of the women's division fights. This will probably be the main event. I've also heard Robbie Lawler and Tyron Woodley too. And Tyron saying he hasn't signed anything yet, but I hope they make the fight. They already did it. Tyron knocked him out early. Took the belt. Fantastic fight. This is Robbie's chance to get it back.
You got to think about it at one time as fans. This is a fight that we never thought we'd see again because for obvious reasons, Tyron was stopping everybody. Whether it was fun to watch or not, Robbie got knocked out from there, lost his belt. Had to play around that division for a while. Had to fight a lot of big fights, then fight some fights that maybe he shouldn't have. Fighting Cowboy, I love Cowboy. That was probably not a fight that he needed to fight to get back in contention, but he had to stay active.
Then he had that 5-round fight against RDA.
You got fights like that all of them, there was so much money on the line for both of them. But the thing is, Tyron always came out on top. Always kept his belt, always ready to go. They're back to square one now. You don't have a belt, I don't have a belt. Let's go do what we did before, and let's see if I can go farther than the first round, and let's really see how this fight goes, because Robbie is a 4-fight round fighter. He likes those long fights. The McDonald fights back in the day. I think we can get the old Robbie Lawler of the McDonald days where he is just going to put it on you, take a shit ton of damage, but also say, look, eventually I'm going to find your weakness, I'm going to finish you out.
I hope we see a couple more of those from Robbie Lawler. I am beginning to think of him the way I thought of Condit on his way out. Like, this dude's been through a lot of wars. All he does is put on great fights.
Against Robbie.
And then he starts getting finished quick. Not that this is happening to Robbie Lawler.
No.
I mean, this was a quick decision this time, but he didn't get knocked out. The RDA fight went to decision. He's lost a couple, but for some reason I have that in my head that could happen to him.
It could.
And I don't want to see that happening. He's 36, but from what I can tell from that Ben Askren fight, he can still light your head up.
That was the scariest I've seen him look and the most prepared. Coming off a knee surgery like he had, that was a long recovery. He looked in best in shape, just as fast, just as angry, and that's the good thing. Woodley's safe, but with someone like Robbie, they're going to want to throw. There's not going to be maybe as much wrestling. I hope not. That's what I hope. But if that happens, this is the rematch that people have been wanting to see. We're going to see, hopefully. And this is, again, going to make people get interested even more in the welterweight division because win or lose to either one of these guys, someone's looking awesome.
I have to be honest. This is not a rematch I wanted to see.
Really?
Yeah, this wasn't on my radar of fights I wanted to see.
Because you probably haven't thought about it.
Exactly. And then they announced, I'm like, oh,
I forgot.
that'd be great. Yeah. But
This is an opportunity now.
Yeah, for some reason it was not even on my list of ideas of fights to make for either of them.
No.
But I'm glad they did. And I think it's a good fight I want to watch.
Yep.
We got Ben Askren, speaking of him, in Jorge Masvidal.
It's funny. Thought we just talked about this.
Yeah. So we had talked very, very recently about both of these guys and their possibility of fighting each other, and thinking that Jorge would not take this fight because he doesn't want Ben Askren's wrestling style. I don't think the fight's official yet, but it sounds like he'll take the fight.
It's a verbal agreement on both of them. I'll be honest, I know we talked about it before. A side piece this to go into this. Leon Edwards right now is getting absolutely fucked.
He's got to be so pissed.
Leon Edwards, after winning on the co-main event fight in his home country, did not move at all in rankings.
No, and people were probably rooting for Gunnar Nelson in that fight.
People probably were rooting for Gunnar Nelson. Now Leon is pushed to the side instantly after
He's actually dropped in the rankings since then.
Oh my goodness.
Because
okay.
I think Pettis came up and jumped
Well, okay, and I'll have to give that because Pettis, you have to look at the pound for pound opportunity there. You had someone that had all the cards thrown way out of the way against them, and Pettis said, no, I'm putting them all back in the deck and I'm going to score on you. He did. But Leon Edwards is going nowhere with anything right now. No one's asking him to fight Masvidal with the three-piece in a soda. Who cares? I'm going to go find somebody else. And that's the fun part is now that's only going to put more fuel in Leon. So whoever fucking wins this fight, if it happens, Leon's going to come out and it's going to be an absolute marketing brawl. Because he's like, you guys have taken so much from me. Darren Till took a shit from me.
Askren's talking shit about him too, about how he needs to promote himself better.
He's not. He's sitting around waiting on his promoters and his manager. And guess what? Apparently they're mute. Because when is the last time you've heard about Leon Edwards in anything that wasn't getting hit in the face, talking about not getting enough respect, or bitching about not fighting Darren Till? Okay, you're pissed. Darren Till got knocked out. He got knocked out by Masvidal. If you want to go fight with him, then get your promoters on the side and get a hold of Masvidal. Masvidal doesn't care. He wants a fight that moves him up. Yeah. He obviously sees that Leon Edwards is not moving up, so why fight him?
Leon Edwards didn't like, it almost hurt him.
It hurt him honestly because hurt him,
and
I think,
which is crazy.
And I think that unfortunately right now isn't great, but down the road is going to fuel for fire. But going back to the main topic, Masvidal Askren is absolutely perfect because this is a test for both. Hey,
it is a good test for both.
Askren, let's go and see if you can take more punches from a guy. Now, I'm not comparing Masvidal's punching to Robbie Lawler. Good God. I don't want to... It's close, but Darren Till we all thought was going to put Masvidal out, and he put him on his back, and he woke back up from the dead and put Darren Till into sleep land.
Yeah.
Let's see if Askren can do that again, but at the same time, Masvidal, now we have a whole nother gamut. We got a guy that is an Olympic wrestler, completely different style, and by the way, he knows how to not get hit. So if Askren can really do what he's been saying, I don't want to get hit. I didn't get hit for almost 2 fights before Robbie. Let's see if he can finally match up with that, because that will be the interesting point. Can you stay away from dangerous hands again?
I think we'll see how much Masvidal has learned in the last 2 years. Do you remember that Damian Maia fight?
Absolutely.
That's what comes to mind for me in this match.
Being smothered.
Yes. I mean, as soon as Maia got a hold of him, he didn't give him any space. He was making him carry his weight the entire time. He couldn't land anything big. Not that he was taking much damage, but he was being controlled for the entirety of two of those rounds. And I thought it was a class in how to win in MMA using jiu-jitsu on the part of Maia. So we'll see if he lets Askren do that to him. If he does, then he's the same old Jorge Masvidal. He could just knock you out at any time. But if he can handle it, then I think he is a title contender type guy.
I think the cool part about this too is Masvidal is not going to be a Robbie where he wants to maybe hit you with a big shot and then go down and try to land you with 9 shots. He's a very pop shotter. Cut you, come in and out. But also, what I said last time we talked, he loves making sure that people that come at him and want to finish him, he will put those counter punches in to finish you back. And I think that's something that maybe Askren is not used to seeing. So, okay, you come in for a shoot, I miss. He's going to hit him. You better hit him right. So, and I think that's what's going to happen is both of these guys have a chance. Does the chance work out in their favor? Because if it doesn't, we already seen what's happened. Darren Till's still waking up, finding out about it, and Robbie Lawler's sitting in a press conference going, why the fuck am I here talking about losing? So, really excited for that. I hope the verbal agreement goes to paper. I think it will.
Like
Dana, come on. It's a July fight. Neither of these guys have big damage. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm hearing it's in Chicago at 238. I'm hearing it's in Vegas at 239. So I don't think anything's official yet, but it sounds like the fight's happening. And
it's not a long time away, kids. It's 4-2 today. It's not a long time as fighting goes.
Pretty sure the co-main event of that 239 card at Fight Week in Vegas is going to be Amanda Nunes defending her title against Holly Holm. And this is the fight that apparently the Aspen Ladd fight fell through because of. And now it's taking place. Holly signed a new contract, I believe.
Yes.
And is looking to get this 235 belt. I think she's most recently fought at 145. And this is going to be for the 135 belt. And obviously Amanda Nunes owns both belts.
Yeah, I like this, and I also want to talk more about it because I think this is a forgotten fight. Because the women's division, especially at those higher weight classes, there's a lot of women that are forgot. It's always what I talk about, like Megan Anderson with the featherweight division and women's.
There's like how many featherweights?
Exactly.
Like 8.
There's not many. So we want to build that up. But this is no better time than to drop down to that bantam and say, hey, let's be recognized again. People have to remember the things Holly Holm has done. And I'm not just saying the Ronda fights. Yes, she lost to Miesha Tate being tapped out cold. That was a different decade. That was a hell of a fight. You have a new absolute caliber with Amanda Nunes' hands. You have a woman right now that probably could tattoo guys in the lightweight division if she gets her hands on them. To where Holly Holm has 700 tools in the toolbox. Coming from Jackson Wink, you're going to get oblique kicks. You're going to get switch kicks. You're going to get roundhouse kicks. Every body shot you can imagine, and speed. Amanda Nunes has one thing that Holly Holm does not have, and that is absolute ripping your face off power. Amanda Nunes went in and made Chrissy Cyborg, who is the scariest woman in the world, look like somebody that had just had their debut. But we all have to remember one thing. Cyborg lands 2 punches faster than Amanda did and clips Amanda. That fight's different. I'm not saying she loses. She doesn't get the finisher that quick. If Holly can play her distance game that she always has had, with someone like Amanda who's a headhunter, she can survive. She has to survive until her time to strike. That's the difference. I have Amanda winning this just from sheer power. At the same time, I know Holly Holm can last out rounds to say, I'll wait till the 3rd round and wait for you to get a little tired and throw something stupid, and then I'll go around you and maybe try to grab your back and then get you in a position, not even try to submit you, get you out of your stand-up bang game. Problem is, Amanda clips you once, you don't even get a chance. And by the way, look, it's not that old, but Holly Holm is 37 and she has been in boxing, kickboxing, and MMA for a very long time. Someone like Amanda Nunes, who has not really been challenged in the last 3 years, that's tough cookie to swallow right now to go in for an event like that.
Oh, yeah. Amanda Nunes is scary.
She's a very scary woman, but range is the factor for Holm. Aggression and punching power is Amanda's every time win. There's nothing to question that's how she's going to win.
They're probably both going to want to stand up.
Yeah.
It's just going to be how the pace is dictated.
This is not a Ronda Rousey situation where you make her look foolish for a while and wait for her to fuck up, because Ronda Rousey wasn't throwing hands. Amanda Nunes is throwing baseball bats at you. This is a different game.
Mm-hmm. So that'll be the co-main event, and looks like the main event is going to be John Jones against Thiago Santos.
Man.
So they ended up making the fight.
Hey, we've talked about it for weeks.
Yeah.
We're glad it happened because it all makes sense. And trust me, you could be at a bar and never watch a UFC fight. That comes on, you're probably going to watch it. Honestly.
Oh, yeah. That'll be a good one. We'll see. Well, I guess. I don't know if it'll be a good one. I think it was the right one to make. and we'll see where they go from here. I know it was the same thing as the
Anthony
Gustafsson-Smith fight. Yeah, where Gustafsson and Corey Anderson agree to a fight on Twitter. Then an hour later, it's announced that Gustafsson's fighting Anthony Smith. This was John Jones earlier in the day tweeting that he's going to fight Stipe Miocic in July. Who wants to see that? And then 2 hours later, he's fighting Thiago Santos in July. But yeah, so that's going to be at least 2 championship fights on that UFC 239 card. And likely this will be the main event because John Jones' name is on it.
I got to tell you what right now, Sean Shelby better have every phone playing in the world because his phone has to be going off every day and night for fights setting up.
Can you imagine?
The fights that this guy has to try to line up with names that are knocking at the door that just did something huge. You know, just like a Masvidal, like we talked about, a Pettis, Santos, Anthony Smith at one point. At the big boy guy levels. Then you got the women lower that are doing shit. You got your Macy Barbers coming out of nowhere, cutting people up, making a name. That guy is making some of the best fights this year that I have seen in a while. Not only that makes sense.
I think most of the fights make sense, which is great.
They make sense, which is great to see because you don't ever want to see the old Lesnar days. You know, look, I'm all about watching a Lesnar fight, but I'm not about watching Mark Hunt fight Lesnar when he's on the juice, when everybody knew it at 200. I'm about watching fights where, like, this guy's earned it, this guy's been talking shit to him, this guy's been doing this, let's match it up. All this fits the card. On top of all the performances fall in line, Santos became the new Anthony Smith. Like you said, and you and me argued in the beginning of the season, you're next in line. Go fight John Jones. All of these fights that we just talked about are exact fights that need to happen now because, what we always say, they're available, they're healthy, they're ready to go. Everything about this year right now, the way this comes out, we're going to be into fucking September. There's going to be names on this list we're talking about again, saying the same shit. Who's he going to fight? Oh, this looks good. Next day, verbal commit. Everybody wants to fight this year. There's nobody sitting around except one person. Stipe Miocic.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why you just brought it up. Stipe Miocic will take that John Jones fight. He's going to watch how this Santos fight turns out.
Yeah.
Because he wants to see a guy that comes in that's a different style, lower weight class, smaller size. How does he go against John? Okay, is it typical? Do you just get busted up in light heavyweight? Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and fucking have something happen at heavyweight, or vice versa. John miraculously happens to lose. John's now got a new chip on his shoulder. What better time to have a redemption? Hi, I'm Stipe Miocic. I have one of the most decorated heavyweight belts of all time. John, come on up and let's see if you want to play in a new ball field. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I mean, like I said on the very first podcast, that was one of the fights I wanted to see made this year was Stipe and John Jones. I think it'd be a fantastic fight. I'd definitely be more interested than John Jones and Thiago Santos. But like I said, I think it makes sense, being that he's been out of the division for a while, that if he wants to be the light heavyweight champion, he should at least take all comers for now.
Yep.
And it looks like Santos is the next comer.
Santos is a wild guy, though.
Anderson gets a chance to be the next one.
Well, you know, I agree with that. I was just going to say, Santos is a wild guy, so whether win or lose, people are not going to probably be disappointed. Okay, I know we talk about guys that are boring sometimes. Have you ever seen a boring Santos fight, whether he gets knocked out or not? Even the David Branch fight when he got knocked out, when he knocked him out. Same thing here. Corey Anderson's next in line now. Okay, cool. Corey Anderson's very enjoyable to watch fight. Like I've said before, you take that OSP head kick knockout, that's something that always sits in the back of my head. That showed the vulnerability of Corey. In this sport, you can throw anything and it happens to land, it works out great. Corey doesn't take that, no problem. So Corey now has a redemption to say, okay, I'm at the top. I got to make a statement, because if not, going back down, man, is just such a fucking tough road. And he's already seen it. He's already fucking seen it.
Especially after having the success he's had up here.
Yep.
Speaking of Stipe in the heavyweight division, one other big fight that was announced for that 239 card in Vegas, Junior Dos Santos and Francis Ngannou. And those are two heavyweights that are taking fights right now, and that'll be a good one as long as it lasts.
That's the thing, is that's a first-round fight to me, and that's also one that I'm throwing a coin, I'm throwing a dart blind, and that's it. Because I can tell you right now, I have no idea who's going to win that. It's going to be whatever hand hits the face
Sign
first.
me up, though.
No, I'm there. I'm there, absolutely. I just think there is no way you're predicting that, whether you want to say Santos has been around longer and has more experience, or you want to say Francis has more power. We've seen Santos do a lot of big things this year, especially after all the USADA shit he had. And then you have Francis that basically came back from possibly being a name that everyone said flopped.
Oh, yeah, he was in a bad spot, and he recovered for sure.
So that's the coolest thing about for both of these guys is kind of two different roads that they're getting ready to blaze right here, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, so that is, there's